Welcome into We Talk Ball. I'm Chris. That right there is not Austin. That is our guy Adam coming in the clutch for us tonight while Austin is sick, out, unfortunately. Hey, do us a favor real quick. Go hit the subscribe button on YouTube at College Sports Crew. Also can follow us on Twitter at College Crew. We got a loaded show tonight. It is our Big Ten. We're finally finishing this series, the Big Ten autopsy series. We're going to talk about what we got right, what we got wrong, biggest disappointments, biggest surprises, all that good stuff. Adam, how are you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? Just enjoying this nice weather that we got in New Orleans right now. We're sitting low 70s, no humidity. It's nice. It's real
I,
nice. As someone that used to live in Ohio and Michigan, seeing all that snow up there, knowing I'm not in it.
I know. I was joking pre-show about the beard and all that, growing the beard out and all that. It's been a,
Well, it's
been a
it's
while since
it's
you've been on here.
it's been a little bit chilly here too, man. We've been down in the 30s some, so I had to get my Michigan face back out, my Michigan winter face back out.
Yeah, it's been cold. Well, it's been hot and cold here. It's been like we had that big freeze where it was like in the 30s and 20s and all that, and then now we're in the 80s right now, and it's no wonder we all stay sick down here in the South.
Yeah, we hit 80 last Saturday, and then Monday we hit mid 30s. Huge, huge fluctuation there.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So before we get into the Big Ten stuff, I do want to mention something. So last week, Wes Rucker, he is a Tennessee beat writer. I've followed Wes probably for since probably 2013. And like I said, he's a beat writer for Tennessee. Done amazing work. Well, he was to me one of the better beat writers in the Tennessee market, and he was very passionate about his job. And another thing he was very passionate about was his family. He had a beautiful wife, beautiful son, and an unborn child on the way. Unfortunately and tragically, he passed away. I think it was last Friday. So we want to send our condolences from We Talk Ball and College Sports Crew to Russ Rucker's family, his friends, and colleagues. To me, he was one of the best. He was a funny guy on Twitter, an awesome follow. I'm gonna miss seeing him on Twitter. There's a couple of ways though if you want to help his family. Alumni Hall, Tennessee, they have partnered with somebody to offer a way to donate to the family. There's $20 youth and adult size T-shirts. That's one way, and then if you also, and I'm going to put a link to all this in the description, so don't worry about not seeing it and all that. I'll have a link in the description, but there's also a GoFundMe out there to support his family. Unfortunately, Wes did not have life insurance. He had recently suffered a stroke not too long ago, changed jobs, and kind of affected the insurance stuff. So that's, it always sucks when somebody loses a life. But one of the things that to me is cool to see after such a tragic incident is how many people come together and do things for others, that complete strangers. This GoFundMe, last I checked, had got up to $800,000. So, doesn't help, the family emotionally, but that's a good thing to help the family, financially during this difficult time. So, hey, if you got, $5, $2, whatever you can put, go support that family and his beautiful children. And yeah, it's our second week in a row where we had to kind of start the show on a sad note, but I loved Wes and he was a great follow. So, all right, Adam, you ready to get into this?
I am. I didn't finding out that I was going to be co-hosting about an hour and a half ago. I didn't really do any research. So I don't even know what we're talking about here. So I'm flying by the seat of my pants.
Well, in Austin fashion, he let me know like an hour before the show that, hey, man, actually, he texted me, well, I say 2 hours. He texted me about 2 hours before the show and was like, hey, man, you're going to have to carry us tonight. And, then I was like, well, I mean, my back's always hurting. I always carry us. But he said he could barely talk. And then like maybe an hour passed, he texted me again and was like, I can't even talk. And then he texted me like 20 minutes before the show. His poor son Evan is running like 101 fever. So they're taking him to the urgent care. So prayers to him and his family. Hope they get better. But yeah, so had to call a guy out. I knew I tried to call somebody else because I never know with you like what you're up to. I was like, I don't know. I doubt he's just sitting at home. And
I,
so I
I
called
lead
somebody else. They didn't answer.
I lead a boring life, man. I lead a boring life. The weekends might have a little excitement, but during the week, it's a boring life because I gotta go to work. Four-letter word work. It's holding me back from having fun in life.
Well, Mrs. College Football Talk actually, I feel bad. I kind of forgot about you. Mrs. College Football, I was sitting there like, I can't do this show solo, Joe. I was like, I can't. And I had tried to call somebody, and Mrs. College Football Talk says, why don't you call Adam? A light bulb hit me. I was like, God, he's always trustworthy. So we appreciate Adam coming on, helping us finish this series. So what we going, what this show is kind of to help Adam too is we're just going to go through not all teams. We're going to talk about the Big Ten, what we got right, what we got wrong, biggest surprises, biggest disappointments. And we're going to start with what we got wrong. And Adam, since like I said last minute, he's just going to kind of bounce off me. We always like to start off with what we got right so we can start with the good stuff. Um, One team that I felt like me and Austin got right was Illinois. I mean, I don't know if you remember Adam in the preseason. It seemed like Illinois was deemed like the next Indiana coming into the season. You saw a lot of headlines. People looking for that next Indiana. Who's that surprise team? And it was Illinois. And I remember in the preseason, I pushed back a lot on the Illinois hype. I just did not buy that, and I think we ended up being right. They went 9-4, big bowl win, but they didn't. They definitely didn't get into the playoffs like a lot of people thought this year.
Yeah, listening to the national narrative. They were a sleeper type team. I don't know if people expected them to be in the playoffs, but I think it was one of those. If there's going to be a surprise team to get in, it could be Illinois, and I feel like they ended up right about where the experts were kind of thinking. Looking back, if I remember correctly, I think Vegas had them as a preseason. Their win total over and under was either 7.5 or 8.5. So, and they finished with 9 wins. And I don't know. I don't gamble enough or even take it serious enough with my 25-cent bets that I make to know when you do a preseason over under, is that regular season only or does that count the bowl game? So,
Yeah.
hitting at 8.5, Vegas was pretty much right there. And, I think they showed signs. I think they were a decent team, but once they played the better teams, Indiana blew them out, Ohio State blew them out. I think they showed where they were in the pecking order, finishing fifth or sixth or whatever it was in the Big Ten. Fifth, I was fourth or fifth. That
Yeah.
I think, they finished right about where they should have, status quo for what a lot of people were expecting.
Another team I felt like we got right. I don't know how you feel about this, man. I know how Austin did, so I was kind of prepared for his take on it because I knew he probably slightly agreed with me. I'm curious to see what you thought, but I thought we got Nebraska right too because there was a lot of people in the media space that was expecting a big Matt Rule year two jump because typically, I think it was Baylor and Temple. He had those big year two bumps, and I've kind of been very minority of this that I'm not a big Matt Rule guy. I don't really buy it with him. I've never understood it. I mean, I get the Baylor and the Temple thing, but I don't know. I just never thought he was this great coach that so many made him out to be. And I didn't think Nebraska was going to do much of anything this year. And I mean, they really didn't. Now I know Dylan Raiola got hurt, so that could have affected them. But I don't know. Did you have any? What's your Matt Rule take?
I think he's a good coach. I'm not going to put him in elite status with Signetti, Kirby, Ryan Day. I'm not putting him up there with any of those guys, but he's a good coach. He's
Yeah,
not
that's kind of where
elite.
I'm
He's
at.
not. He's not. And I wasn't very optimistic on Nebraska this year either, to be honest.
Mhm.
I I think Rayola is decent, but I wasn't convinced, and I didn't know what they had around him. And I don't. I mean, I think you could take a very good coach to Nebraska, and I still don't know how good they're going to be. I feel that is a very tough place to recruit now because everybody has pretty good facilities. Everybody can pay people. Nebraska used to get some of the best, and they're not anymore. And I don't know why, but their facilities aren't holding them back at all because they have some of the best facilities that there are. I think there was something that the mystique of Nebraska, when tradition and powerhouses really meant something,
Mhm.
the 70s through the early 2000s, that is kind of what kept pushing them. And I don't know if a a state like Nebraska, where you got Lincoln, that I don't, doesn't seem like has got a lot going on to excite the 18 to 23-year-olds, or 27 now, depending on how many extra years I get. But 18 to 23-year-olds is going to provide everything that they want. And Nebraska's going to have to find something else out to evolve with the new recruiting, the new NIL, the new college student athlete experience, to be able to compete at the elite levels again. And I don't know what that is or how they're going to do it, but they're out in the middle. There's not much in the whole state of Nebraska that's going to get an 18 to 23-year-old excited. Are there great things to do? I don't want to make it
Well,
sound like I'm hating on Nebraska, but you're talking about a certain age group of males going there to play football, and some might love it, but I have a feeling the majority will not.
yeah, I'm so glad you said that. First, Miss CFB Talk says, "Wow, Adam has a beard now." She is everybody's. Hey, I'm loving the look personally. I think you should keep it year round. I think you should keep it year round. I'm glad you said that though, because I had wrote in my notes. I'm gonna push back a little bit because I wonder if Nebraska fans look at Indiana. Now, I've never been to Bloomington. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the, you know, entertainment capital of America.
it,
And
it,
another place that I have been to because I'm from this state. Um, hey, money can make people move to places. Somehow Lubbock, Texas, is finding out ways to get people to come to that place. And I wonder if Nebraska fans are kind of sitting around going, watching Indiana and watching Texas Tech going, why can't we do that?
but I think, and I'm not talking the city itself, Bloomington's not that far from Chicago. It's not that far from Indianapolis. It's not that far from some bigger city. If you want to go watch a pro football game, if you want to go to a big city and get that experience, you can do that very easily on a short drive from Bloomington. Lubbock's a little bit tougher, but still, you can probably get to a Cowboys game in a weekend if you want to. I mean, honestly, as big as Texas is, I can't defend the Lubbock one very well, outside of money, because it's close. Lincoln, Nebraska might be just as close to Dallas as Lubbock
Yes.
is, as big as Texas. I don't know, but you know, Bloomington, it's close enough to other stuff that you're going to be able to find those scenes, if that's really what you want, is some sort of nightlife outside of college football, some sort of big city, whatever. Go see pro sports, go see, so Bloomington, I think, is completely different. The cities themselves, I don't know. I've never been to Lincoln. I can't compare them, but you're a lot closer to big cities in Bloomington than what you would be
Yeah,
in Lincoln.
that's true. All right, let's move to what we got wrong. Well, and I wrote another one, but I'm not going to go in depth on it. We got Ohio State right. I mean, but to me, I don't think there's much skill in predicting Ohio State. It's they win 10 games every year. I think there's only been like 1 year in the last 20 years. It was that Luke Fickle year or whatever year it was that they didn't win 10 games. So there's no skill in predicting Ohio State going 10, 11
That,
wins.
yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. That and the COVID year, because they didn't play double digit
Yeah,
games.
that's true.
So I think those are the two that they didn't
Yeah,
win
this
double
is
digits in the last 20, since probably since 2002.
Yeah, there's no skill in that. That's why I was like, I'm not going to go in depth in that, and we're not even going to really try to brag about that because there's just no skill in predicting Ohio State to have a good season. What we got wrong, it's got to start with Indiana. At least for me in Austin, I think we had them fifth. I think when I looked earlier at our graphic from a couple of years ago or a year ago, we had them finishing fifth, I think, and not making the playoffs. I know we did not have them in the playoffs. When we did our playoff show, we did not have them in. I don't know what to say other than kudos to Kurt Signetti. We should have known better. And I think it was just my college football brain was not being able to comprehend that Indiana could do that. I think that's just all it was. I don't think it was, I was hating on Indiana. I just think my college football brain, even after winning the national championship and going 16-0, I'm still having a hard time comprehending this happening. And yeah, we I think it was, I know the Notre Dame game for me in Austin didn't put a bad taste in our mouth. We didn't like how Kurt Cinetti coached that game. And then that year also, I think, they won a bunch of games. And the toughest games they played, they had lost. So we were kind of like, and then they lost a bunch of players, lost their quarterback, so we were like, they got a new quarterback. And then also, like I said, our college football brain just wasn't wired to think that this was even, there was no way Indiana was going to, go and make a playoff after they had made it. I think most of us was thinking like, yeah, that's it. That's probably the last playoff appearance they'll ever have. But no, kudos to them. We were dead wrong about Indiana. I don't know how you felt Indiana preseason.
I really kind of avoided that one because I couldn't figure it out. It's to me, it's becoming harder and harder to figure teams out because of the amount of turnover. You might have a great bunch of transfers coming in. LSU is a great example. They had tons of talent, but they had an injury at quarterback with Nussmeier, and then they just couldn't figure stuff out. And I think a lot of it had to do with team chemistry and um, a lot of it had to do with the team chemistry and just not really fitting in well, and maybe some locker room issues. But Signetti's the type of coach, he's not going to put up with that type of stuff, and
Well,
I think it showed with how disciplined they were. I can't sit here and say I did expect that or I didn't expect. I was like, they're probably going to be pretty good again, but I didn't know. You got to think 3 or 4 teams from the Big Ten are going to make it every year, and
hmm
I 100% assumed Penn State would. I 100% assumed Ohio State would. I 100% assumed Oregon would. And I was like, if a fourth team does, it'll probably be Indiana. But I wasn't going out on a limb for Indiana either. So I can't say I was surprised they made the playoff. With how dominant they were in the playoffs, I was very surprised.
yeah, yeah. I'm still. We're months away from it now, and it still hasn't registered with me how crazy this was. I don't even know where to begin. Like, like we're so deep now into our 2026 prep, and I don't know. I don't know. Is this a one off? Is this? I try not to be like most of the media out there. They are very I don't know what the word is, dramatic or caught in the moment. Maybe that's the right word.
Recency biased.
Yeah, recency bias. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Recency bias. Yes, big time. And I try not to get too caught up in that. Sometimes it happens, but I don't know if this is if this is the new, which everybody assumes it is, or are we going to now see, teams like Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, some crazy stuff, or is Kurt Signetti one of one? And I just think that's to be determined. I know that's not the hot take. I know that's not the TikTok worthy clip. To not get in there and dig my heels into something. I don't know. I just think we'll have to wait and see and find out what happens. I'll be curious to see. It's going to be interesting. Is this one of one and we'll never see this again, or is this a new trend? It'll be interesting.
I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a new trend, and I compare the reason I say this is looking at March Madness in basketball.
Yeah.
You look at some of your mid majors that do have older teams that do now. Granted, the majority of them, when they would make their runs, were staying together, and it
Mhm.
would be you talk about Wichita State that when they um, They go to the Final Four in 2013, I think it was. In
Mhm.
2014, they were undefeated, the number one overall seed, and got knocked out by Kentucky in the second round. But they had the and then Gonzaga, how they kind of got started when they before they were a perennial top 25 team, and there's been some other teams. George Mason, the majority of them are veteran teams, and they're knocking out some of your blue bloods that were younger. A Kentucky team that had, you know, five of their top eight players were freshmen. Kansas teams that were very young. Duke that was, and they would beat them because the chemistry they had, the experience they had, and they didn't get flustered on the field. So I would assume Indiana will be back, but I also
Mhm.
think you might find more players and more coaches that are looking for
Yeah.
the locker room fit more than the 40 time and bench press and I will say combine numbers, you know.
Yeah, I do wonder if like the new trend now will be because it's not just a 1 year thing. I think it was Indiana who won the national championship for Ohio State, Michigan. I think all three of those teams the last 3 years have been very old veteran teams. And I'm starting to wonder if now we need to shift our focus when we prep for that season, the 2026 season. We need to look at the who has the oldest roster, the most experienced roster, and good players. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to follow. Another team I think we got wrong. Me and Austin, we had USC finishing ninth. They ended up finishing 10th, and they went 9-3 in the regular season, lost their bowl game. I mean, I had them pegged as a four-loss team in the regular season, not bowl game counted. I just didn't believe in Lincoln Riley. Kind of still don't. I'll get to that at the end of the show, but they went 9-3, and kind of proved us wrong. Like I said, finished fifth. I don't know. I don't know what to think of Lincoln Riley and USC. I really don't.
he,
It's,
he's going to score points, but can he
yeah.
stop anybody else from scoring is usually how his teams work out, and they win games by outscoring others. They were kind of the hot team with Illinois that could be a sleeper to make the playoffs.
Hmm.
And I thought, absolutely not. I didn't think there was a chance at all. And they had an outside chance towards
Hmm.
the end of the season if they would have won their last game. I forget who they
I
played
think it
now.
was the Oregon game that decided it.
Yes.
They played Oregon and they lost, and that was the end of it.
Yeah. They were both 9-2 going into that game, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe Oregon was 10-1. And
Like that.
if they would have beat Oregon, they had a very good chance that they were going to get in. I'm absolutely shocked they were in it that long to even have a chance last week of the season. I
Yeah,
expected 7-5.
I did too. I expected him to be fired. I think I said it on our bold take show or something that I thought he was going to be fired. But we'll see. All right. I don't think I had anything else that we got wrong. I mean, we got a lot wrong. But we don't have many time. We don't have much time to discuss at all. Those were the two biggest ones. I felt like we got really wrong.
What
Biggest,
what was one? I mean, everybody had Penn State in the semis and the championship game,
yeah.
being national champs. Where did you guys have them? I along with everybody else. I'm guessing everybody did. I figured they were a lock for the playoffs. Um,
Well,
I
I'm
didn't
glad you
know if I
said that.
trusted Franklin enough to win the championship, but I was not going to be surprised to see him in the semis or the round before the quarters at all.
Well, I'm glad you said that because this is one we got wrong too. But we have me and Austin say it every week. We've been doing these shows for 4 weeks, and that's our fourth week. And we try to tell people like, hey, our biggest disappointment is also one we did get wrong, but we're trying to fill segments. So I'm glad you said that because our biggest disappointment is Penn State, which is one we got very wrong, very, very, very wrong. I had them in the national championship game. Um, Austin, I don't think he had him in the national championship game, but he had him in the playoffs. I know that for sure. And we both had them. We had Penn State winning the Big Ten. Um, yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. I don't. There's going to be people when I clip this and put it out on socials. They're going to be like, "No, we told you they were going to be overhyped." I don't know. I probably think you're a little full of it if you tell me
Pre-
you thought they were going to go 7-6.
Pretty much
I
every
thought,
expert in the
yeah,
industry had them as a top 10 team.
I thought worst case scenario was going to be your typical James Franklin 10-2, get in the playoffs, depending on who they played, either losing the first round or losing the next round. It was just going to be your typical, that was
Yeah.
the floor. And the ceiling, I thought, obviously, was national championship. And I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I know there's a lot of good articles out there behind the scenes. I know I haven't got to read them yet. Um, but I don't know. I mean, the team was talented. I know people, they were trying to crap on Indiana when Indiana barely beat them. But if you go look at their schedule, I don't have it pulled up, but if you go look at their schedule, they were in a lot of close games. A lot of close games. That team was super talented. I don't know. I don't know if it was James. I don't know if he checked out. I don't know.
I don't know. They seem to get a little bit of resurgence after he was let go as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they also didn't have the easiest, if I remember correctly, they didn't have the easiest first 5 games or so. They had Oregon in there, and
Mm-hmm.
they had somebody else in there too, didn't they? It was a tougher game. Or was it just Oregon?
I think Oregon, Indiana was the two toughest ones I remember.
I think Indiana was after he was let
Yeah,
go.
Indiana was after he was let go, though. I know they lost to what, UCLA, Northwestern before they fired him. It was something like that.
UCLA, I don't remember.
I think it was UCLA. I don't.
UCLA might have been the week after. Maybe UCLA was the straw that broke the camel's back because that was a huge shocker.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still blown away by it. I don't know. I think maybe it was just I mean, hell, I mean, in anything in life, you're with something for that long of a time, it can kind of get stale. It can kind of. I think he was there 10 plus years. I know he's there over a decade at least. I don't know if it was right at 10 years, but it was either right at 10 years or a little past it.
I think it was. I want to say it was 12.
Yeah, 12 years. I mean, that's a long time. And sometimes hearing the same message, it can get stale and get old, and sometimes it's best. It'd be interesting to see what he does at Virginia Tech. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that was our biggest disappointment. I'm still dumbfounded at how that went down. I don't know. I wasn't the biggest Drew Aller, or however you say his name, Drew fan either.
I've never understood the hype around Drew Aller.
Did you see a
I
tweet recently by some NFL guy? They're buying in. They're getting sucked into that 6'5", 245.
I mean, Penn State hasn't had a QB, in my opinion, has lived up to the hype in a long time. You had Hackenberg, you had Drew Aller, you had. Didn't they have one of the Sorsby's guys there for a little
Trace
bit?
Trace McSorley or something like that.
Yeah.
He just got hired by
Um,
the Buffalo Bills.
I don't feel like I'm trying to think. Michael Robinson, I think that was like early mid 2000s maybe is the last one I feel like was a legitimate good like top of the Big Ten type quarterback, and obviously the team around him was too because they won the Big Ten his last year there. But I just all these NFL stereotypical NFL pocket passers, I just haven't been impressed with them there.
No, it's kind of similar to. Well, no. Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's the quarterback's been to me. I think quarterback, and other than Moorhead, offensive coordinator has been James Franklin's biggest, boogeyman. And that was the other thing. Like they had Jim Knowles and freaking Kansas's OC, which I refuse to believe. That OC is a bad OC. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a fit. I don't know. I think he's a pretty dang good OC. It didn't go well, and then Jim Knowles didn't go well at all. I don't
I'm
know. That was crazy.
I'm wondering if Jim Knowles maybe isn't quite as good as his reputation as well.
I've thought of
When he
that.
was at Ohio State, now he did improve Ohio State's defense, but it was
Yeah.
never a top defense. And then 2 years ago, when Ohio State wins the national championship, they told Knowles they needed to start doing something. I think they switched from a 3-4 to a 4-3 or something,
After
and
the
that was
Oregon
kind
game.
of the friction between them.
Yep.
And that's when the defense got better. And Knowles was not happy about it, but you know, he did great things at Oklahoma State, and then maybe he got a reputation he necessarily shouldn't have had.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with that because, he's Tennessee's DC now, and one of the things I've always read since he's been hired at Tennessee, and I read this back when he was at Oklahoma State too, was how very, very, very complicated his defense is,
Yes,
and I
I've,
find that,
I've seen that as well.
and I don't know that when I hear things like that, that concerns me, in especially in college. I know people think they don't go to school no more, and but I don't know. With college, I get concerned anytime I hear this coach's guy, especially when people say it like a badge of honor, like it's complicated and very hard. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should probably. I'm not saying dumb it down, but it shouldn't be that
Simplify it at
complicated.
some point. And I also wonder, because you had watch my mind going blank. Ohio State's defense coordinator this past year come in,
Matt
and
Patricia.
yeah, Patricia, and his defense it fooled a lot of teams and did seem to be kind of complex, but it didn't. The players did not seem to struggle with it at all running that defense. So it's almost like the disguises confused the offense, but the actual scheme to run itself seemed much simpler than what Knowles was running at Ohio State.
Yeah. All right. Before we end the show, let's get into a little buy sell, and we'll just carry on the Penn State conversation because I am for 2026. Let's move ahead to 2026 before we get off here. I am buying Penn State for 2026. I don't not in a national championship form, not in a playoff form, but I am buying that they're going to do better than 7-6. I think
So
with
that's what we're
Rocco.
going on. Buy or sell is based on 2025's record. Will they be better or worse than that?
Yeah, yeah,
I'll buy as well.
yeah. I think Matt can. I got a lot of hate on our coaches, new coaches, higher rankings. With the Matt Campbell one, I'll still stand 10 toes deep in that. It's not that I think he's a bad coach. I want to make that clear. I don't want to bring up something from the past, but um, I think he's a great coach. I'm curious about the fit, about the, if the things he did at Iowa State will work at Penn State. Finding the diamond in the roughs. Not really playing in the NIL world. He didn't have to do that at Iowa State. He could go out and find the 2-star and 3-star, and make them into great players. Curious if that'll work at Penn State. But I am very confident that they'll be better this year than they were last year. And yeah, I think especially with Rocco at quarterback. I like Rocco. I think Rocco's going to do a pretty dang good job.
I'll buy as well, and I think it's more. I think Campbell is a good coach, but it's more the amount of transfers he got from Iowa State that already know his system and are veteran guys and have already been in a locker room together. I think that's going to go a long way.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know if they'll make the playoff or not, but I see them being
Yeah.
better than 7-6.
I don't think they're going to make the play. I mean, well, I don't want to make proclamations. Not after all the shit I've gotten wrong. A team I'm selling, one that I had to admit I was wrong on. I'm selling USC. I think they are fixing to get a lot of hype this year, especially coming off a 9-3, well, 9-4, counting the bowl game. I just don't. I get why they're going to get hyped. They have the number one class coming in. They have the quarterback coming back. They have a lot of talent coming back. They just hired Gary Patterson as DC. It's kind of odd fit with Gary Patterson and Lincoln Riley just do not seem like a pair. So I get why they're going to get a lot of hype. I just don't think Riley's an elite coach. I don't think Riley's personality fits to be a head coach. I think he's, just all about offense, offense, offense. I've read that there's been problems where they don't have physical practices. And anytime that they faced more physical teams, that's when Raleigh's kind of folded under pressure. And looking at the schedule, I mean, I see why they chickened out of the Notre Dame game. I can tell you that much. They have Oregon, Penn State, which, but that's at Penn State, Ohio State, at Indiana. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 games there that I mean I think are toss ups. Maybe Penn State you could give them that one, but even after that you got Washington on the schedule too. That's 5 games there. That's going to be pretty tough, I think.
I would love to push on here, but I feel like I need to make a decision, and I'm going to sell too. Partly because of that schedule, partly because I feel like every time USC starts to get a little hype, they fall flat on their face. It's the years nobody expects anything from them that they kind of surprise people, and it's like this past year they go 9-3 in the regular season.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sell. I don't see them getting. Like I said, I would love to push again and or push with them and say they'll finish 9-3 again, but I see them 8-4 more than I see them at 10-2.
I think at 8-4 he's done so.
Depends on who he beats, and I don't know. I probably not.
I mean, for him to go 8-4 though, that means he would have to because that he would have to lose to Oregon, Washington, Penn State. So that's 3 in Indiana. No, okay, he would have to lose to Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, and then I would assume Penn State. So yeah, I mean his only win against a good team would be Washington because the rest of the schedule is San Jose State, Fresno State, Louisiana, Maryland, and UCLA, and Rutgers. There would be no signature wins at 4 losses.
No, I mean they very well might get one.
Yeah,
I just until a Lincoln Riley coach team proves they can play defense, and they have a great defense coordinator, but how's that dynamic going to work between them? Until they prove they can play defense, I don't trust them.
yeah,
You know, even the Caleb Williams teams, I just didn't trust.
yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm with you. I haven't trusted. I remember when I guess called me a homer. I could. There was a lot of publications before Kirby won the national championship that would rank Riley ahead of him. And I never understood it. I thought Kirby was a better coach than Riley. And I don't know. I think sometimes we get wrapped up in the offensive stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think he's a phenomenal offensive coordinator. I think he's a phenomenal offensive. I think he's an offensive genius. The way they play ball, it's all exciting. But all right, guys. Man, got it right at 40 minutes, which is great. That was a loaded show. We're finally done with the autopsy series. Next week, Austin will be back. He better be because we're gonna get yelled at. Next week is our pre-spring, way too early top 25. And I'm ready to get yelled at. I'm ready to get yelled at. Especially my number one team. I can already hear it now. I'm not gonna tell you now because you have to tune in. So hey, go follow us on X at College Crew. Go hit us up on TikTok where we post a lot of our clips, do some lives at College Sports Crew. And more importantly, go to YouTube at College Sports Crew. We've up to 118 subs. And we've had a killer month this month and would love to close it out with a couple of more. And we appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.